Good afternoon, guys. Welcome to our third lecture, first session of mobile application networks or mobile application development. I hope you've been following from the first day and up to today, and I hope you're not lost. So we are going to resume from how we stopped at in the previous class, and we're going to do it as how we always do it. 60 minutes and then a break, then 60 minutes. As you can see, we have already started counting, so don't worry. So what I call upon is your concentration. And then after these 60 minutes, you'll have a break, and then another 60 minutes, and then you go and do any other thing that you want. But during the classes, I want you to be as concentrative as you can, so that even though you don't understand, at the end of the day, you'll say that you gave it your best, so that you don't regret. Because most people after some time they start regretting, I wish I gave it my best. So right now you still have a chance, give it your best. So even though it doesn't work for you, but you know that you tried something, it did work. But I hope it will work at the end of the day. So with that much said, as I've said, today we are going to proceed from how it stopped at in the previous classes. In the previous class we stopped at the introduction to that programming and stopped at the functions. So today mainly we're going to look at object-oriented programming in Dart, and then after object-oriented programming in Dart, then in the next class, the next session, after this first session, the second session, we'll now get started with Flutter mobile application development, setting up the environment, and if time allows, we will create our first mobile application today. So that by the next class, everyone should have created at least their mobile application. So that's how we're going to do it today. So without wasting much time, let's get straight to the business. As you can see, I've already opened my GitHub desktop version. I hope everyone right now, they understand now what is meant by GitHub desktop. So if I talk about GitHub, I hope I'm not talking Chinese at the moment. So I've opened GitHub, so I'm going to open the project that I'm using to practice. So I'll simply come here and look for it, and I think I call it, is it that? Learn that programming, it is here, right? So when I click on it, it will be loaded here, and then I'll see the options that I can possibly do with this project from here. I can either launch it, open it in Visual Studio Code by simply clicking on this button, or I say show in Finder. When I click on show in Finder, it will take me to the folder where it is. For those who are using Windows machines, the word will be open with Explorer, something like that. So I'm going to open straight to Visual Studio Code the project, so I hope no one is lost by this moment. So I'll click on open Visual Studio Code, and then it will open my pieces of code that I was using to practice in this Visual Studio Code. I had already prepared something. Let me put it here. The syllabus. Files should be here. It's this one. So I've opened my Visual Studio Code here, and my pieces of code are there. So I'm going to be a little bit faster, so I'll want everyone to be so much attentive. So in the previous class, we stopped at argumented functions. So we're going to look at also other types of functions in that programming. So so that you should understand why, how, and what you can use functions properly. So we looked at augmented functions, and we say the augmented functions are the ones that take parameters, whereby you'll give a function something and then it will perform something for you. Then today we are going to look at what we call the returning functions. Returning functions, they are the functions that will do for us some logic. Will do for us some logic and then return to us the results. For example, assume that we want to be connecting to internet, and connecting to internet to fetch maybe data from internet. You may need to write around 10 lines of code or 10 pieces of code. So you'll find that in your program you're going to connect to the internet so many times. Maybe when you're picking the logins, when someone is logging in, when you're getting the information of that person from internet, when someone sends information to the internet, you'll find that if you write a simple software or a simple mobile application, you will send information or receive information from internet like 100 times. Let us say like 100 times. But the problem is writing just one piece of code that will communicate to the internet and send back the result. Writing the logic of communicating to the internet and send back the result. It can take you like writing 10 lines. Let's say, okay, 10 lines. To send the information and receive back, it will take you like 10 lines. So it means that if you're going to write 100 times to go to the internet or communication to the internet and receiving the information back, if you're going to write it 100 times, so what does it mean? It means that you repeat those 10 lines. Those 10 lines, you repeat them 100 times, hence resulting to 1000 times, which will make your program less effective, and it will not be optimized properly because you have repeated yourself so many times. And maybe in case maybe you come up with a better idea and you need to reduce these lines from maybe 10 lines to 7 lines. So what does it mean? It means that you will go everywhere in your program or in your mobile application where there is those pieces of code and put that new idea or new logic to reduce them to what? To maybe 11 lines, to 7 lines. So what does it mean? It means that you're going to repeat yourself again and again and again. But what if there is a way whereby you can write just one piece of code and then reuse it multiple times, so that if you want to change something in it, you change it only one time and everywhere updates. So those kind of functions that will perform for us some logic and give us the results, we call them returning functions. So we are going to look at the returning function that will give you a task and then it will do it for us and give us the result, and then we can reuse that function. So I'm going to come here and create another file that I'm going to call 15 underscore returning underscore functions .dat. So I'm going to come here and create my main function. My main function, let me say maybe to return integer and is taking no parameters. Okay, then I'll return here 0. Okay, so first of all, we are going to do a function that is going to calculate maybe my age. Okay, my age. So this function, its task is not going to be to display the age, but it's going to calculate the age so that we can use the results from anywhere. Okay, so let us go ahead and create the function. So this function is going to be, of course, outside the main function because it's going to be an external function. So for the returning function, you want to begin with, what is promising to return. Okay, so this function, it's promising to give us the results. Okay, and the results, they must be having a certain data type. So let us say it will give us the result of the age, and the age, we know the age, the data type of age, we can use what? We can use integers. So you can say int, and then after we give the function a name. Okay, maybe I can call it calculate age, and then this function, of course, it may expect something. Okay, it may expect something. maybe let us say start here. So start here is going to be an integer. Okay, maybe start here, or maybe current year, or maybe year of birth. Okay, you will give it year of birth, and then we give it the current year. Okay, we give it the current year. Okay, so say int, and then maybe say this year, this underscore here. Okay, so it will take those two parameters. So let me calculate age. So as you can see, the function is warning. So why is it still warning? It is warning because we promised here that you're going to return integer, but we have not returned anything. So until we return what it's expecting, then it will stop what? It will stop warning. So this is the function where we are going to do our logic of calculating the age and then give back the what? Give back the result. So this is just a simple elaboration of a function. But functions, we can use them to do a lot of things. You can even write like 50 lines of code in one function, and then it will save you not to repeat yourself. Okay, let us say we get now the difference. Maybe the difference will be int, and then say difference equals to 0 for the beginning. Okay, then after we calculate the difference. So difference equals to this year minus what? Minus the year of birth. Okay, I think that's how we calculate the date of birth. And then we return back the difference. So to return something, as we call them returning function, you do it like this: return difference. So this function will receive two numbers. We can even remove this year because we can even do that logic within the function. Okay, so let us say this year, we initialize it and make it here 2022. Okay, so it can even read maybe from the operating system to get this year. So we say this year is equal to 2022, so the difference is equal to 0. Then this year minus the year of birth that will provide to this function, it will get for us the difference, and then we return the difference. So instead of us writing this logic again and again and again and again and again, or in different parts of the program, we can as well write all that logic and put it in the what? In the function, and then it will compute and then it will be returning. So one thing that you should know in these returning functions, in fact, that's what we're going to use most when you're creating mobile application. They don't display, okay? We don't use them to display. Why? Because their task is to compute and then give back the results. So anyone who wants to use it, or any other function that wants to use it, it will expect some result from it, and then it can use it in any way that it wants. So if I run this program, of course, it's not going to display anything. Why? Because we have not put anything in the main function. So it will begin from here and then it will end without displaying anything. Now let us say that I was born in 1990 or 1950, and I want to calculate my what? My age. So I can simply do that by simply saying print, and I say, maybe I can put here maybe integer and say year of birth equals 2010. Okay, so I can now say here I was born in, and then I substitute here my year of birth. Okay, I am now. Okay, I am now, and then I'm going to call here the function. Okay, so maybe I can create here another integer and say my age. Okay, age. So age is going to be, so to calculate the age, we are not going to do all that logic. What we're going to do, we're going to call this function. Then it will calculate for us the what? The age. So age equals to calculate age. And this function, what is it expecting? It is only expecting the year of birth. So when we'll do like this function will get the year of birth, do for us the mathematics. So I'm just trying to make it bigger, but I can reduce this line and become it much more smaller. So the point is, you can even write a function that is doing a lot of logic, and then gives you back the what? The result. So it is going to get for us the integer, and then that integer will be returned and then stored here, okay, in this edge. So I can now write my statement saying print I was born, and then I put there my year of birth, and then I say I was born this year, I am now, and then I put my age. Remember my age, it is here, so I can just simply do what? I can just simply put your age like this, okay? If it's one variable, you can even not surround it with what? With quotes. With brackets. So what does it mean? It means that this function is the one that's going to calculate the result and then return them back and then store them here and then display them. Okay, so it may not make sense right now. Why? Because the logic is so small. Okay, but when you start making complex application, you will surely need this knowledge of what? Of functions. So the main point here is you should understand a function can be written just to calculate or to do a very big task that you may want to repeat, to use again and again, and then it will be returning the what? The results. So let's go ahead and run this function and you see what we'll come up with. So I'll just simply come and say that and then the name of the file, which is 15_that, and then you run it. So you can see I was born in 2010, I am now 12. Okay, so it means that even if we want maybe to calculate for me, by the way, you can also, that's one way. Also, you can as well call the function within a string. For example, here you can just simply say maybe put a $sign and then you call the function within this string. You see, you can as well do that. So there are so many ways. So whatever it will return, it will be substituted here. So understand that whatever will be returned will be substituted here. So let me say I can remove this age. So I'm just showing you how different ways of how you can do things. Okay, so now assume that we have so many people who want to calculate their age. So instead of us repeating ourselves, we can just simply call these functions multiple times. Okay, so maybe I can just simply say I just pass here maybe okay, so maybe I can put here maybe 2019. Okay, and then I duplicate and I put me a baby 2017. Okay, so the whole point here is you can reuse it again and again. So instead of you writing these lines repeating yourself, you can do what? You can go ahead and reuse it. So if I run the file, you can see I was born this and so the point here is it is returning something. Okay, it may not make sense, but the whole point is it is returning something that it promised. Okay, so here we promised that we will return an integer, and at the end of the day we did our all mathematics and then we returned the what? The integer. And when it returns, we can either call it within a string, and also we can even call it and store the data somewhere. So that's what is meant by what? By returning functions. So go ahead and practice them. Okay, go ahead and practice, search from other teachers and try to learn these things. It's just like a capital. You're investing in yourself. Once you have this knowledge, hey, it is very hard for you to be broke. Okay, so sit back in your free time, make more research about functions. Okay, make more research about functions, learn more. Okay, so once you have this knowledge, when you're stuck, friends are there, we are there, we who can mentor you. So when you really stuck, you can do what? You can contact us and then we help you. Even friends are there. So go ahead and learn these things. So you can also as well learn from other teachers. There's a lot of resources on what? On internet. So those are what? Those are returning functions for you. I will not go much so deep there, but I hope you've all understood what's meant by returning function. Something that will do for you something and give you back the what? The results. Other functions that we are not returning, we are having here void. So we can have different types of returning function. Assume that we are going to generate what? To generate a sentence, okay? So you'll expect a what? You'll expect a string. So instead of putting here int, you'll just simply put string like this, okay? So if I put here string, I cannot call it again from here, and I'm expecting to store it inside the integer. And I say that I'm calling it from here. You see? I'm calling it here, and then I put maybe 1999. Okay? So if I do like this, it will warn me, it will not accept that. Why? Because this function, it promised that it's returning what? A string. And we want to store that into an integer. So it will not accept that. Unless this one is also what? A string. And also here we have another warning. Why? Because we promised that we'll return a string, and we are returning integer. Remember, this is a what? This is an integer. So it will not accept also that. So I can convert this one to string by just simply adding to string. That function will help you to convert to string. So you see, it has been converted. So like this. Okay. So the whole point here is the different functions can return different data types. Okay. Different functions can return different data types. So go ahead and play with it in your free time, please. Okay. This is just capital that you can invest in yourself. So once that is done, let us go ahead and proceed to classes. Unless there is a serious question that you're totally lost, put your arm up, and then we see if we can help you. If there is no any question, we will proceed. You may not understand the syntax and the whole logic right now, but all what I need you to understand is the what? Is the concept. To know that this thing is what? Is possible. So that when you have an idea, you can go ahead and search or cheat from internet. Because once you finish your degree, every resource will be for free on internet. There will be nothing like, you're cheating, you're doing what? No. All what you need to know is the what? Is the idea that this is possible. So when you want to do it, you search it on internet. Copy the code, modify it as you want. Then if you keep on doing that again and again, the code will just come in your what? In your minds. Next time you'll just write things without even copying them. Okay? So you may not get it right now, but just know it is possible in that way. So if there is no question, let us proceed and get introduced to what? To object-oriented programming in what? In that. So object-oriented programming, you can go ahead and search about it. In simple terms, object-oriented programming is a way how we can look at variables or data types in form of what? In form of objects. For example, where is that? That person should mute too. Someone should mute their microphone, please. Okay, thank you. So, wherever you are. So now I'm going to introduce you to object-oriented programming. I'll give you a very good foundation so that after today you can teach yourself the rest parts of object-oriented programming. So you'll forgive me for being too much slow for those who already know, but for those who don't know, I'm just trying to explain so that you should understand things clearly, even though it may be very little, but while you've understood, other than teaching so many, I do not understand. So object-oriented programming, I will not define it as how it is in the dictionary, but I'm going to try to explain it in a layman's way, and then give examples that we can do what? We can understand really what is meant by object-oriented programming. So object-oriented programming is how we can look at data in form of what? In form of objects. Remember, let us say that you are making a school management system, okay? And you're going to have students in it. So these students are human beings, okay? And a human being, you will not store only a single variable about that student. Let's say you're going to store a student. So these students will have multiple properties that are attached to them. So far, the data types that we have looked at, let us look at these data types. For example, we have looked at what? At string. We have looked at those, by the way, those who don't know how to comment, this is how we comment. That's how we comment a block. Okay, let us look at different data types that we have looked at. We have looked at strings. We have looked at integers. We have looked at integers. We have looked at double. We have looked at what? At booleans. We have looked at what? At float. Okay, so those are the main data types that we have looked at, or the one that are primary or basic data types in what? In that programming language. But when you come in reality, there are more that there are structures or different data types that we may still need. For example, I've said that we're going to store students' data. Okay, student data. And remember, when you're storing a student data, this is a string. It will only store one piece of a group of characters. Okay, this is an integer. It will only store one number. This is a double to store a big number. This is a boolean to store a true or false. This is float. It will store a decimal point number. So, what if I want to store the name, the age, and maybe the nationality of a certain person? Does it mean that I will store them in a string, all of them together, or in integer, all of them together? So you'll find that still there will be a need of a certain data structure that you may define by your own rules, so that you'll be able to reuse it, so that when you call it, you attach all the information that about that particular data structure, and then you'll be able to do what? To reuse it. That's when you come to what? To object-oriented programming. So in object-oriented programming, you can define your own data type. Okay, you can define your own data type, and then you do what? You reuse it as you want. For example, if we have a data type of a student, it means that we can define it as we want. Now we can record maybe the name of student, we can record his date of birth, we can record his maybe contact, we can record his class, we can record his parent name, we can record maybe his sex, etc. So all of them, you record them and store them in one particular item. So that item is what we call a variable. An object. So in string, in these basic data types, when we created a certain instance of it, we created what we call variable. But in this data type, when we create a certain instance of it, we will call it a what? An object. An object, it will have more or properties attached to it. Okay, so that's why you call it object-oriented programming. So when I create a student, maybe student X, it means that I can attach to him a name and all this information. When I create a student called Y, it means that I can attach for him on him all that particular information. But for these ones, these are just what? Basic ones. So that is a simple explanation of what is meant object-oriented programming. You create one variable and you can attach to it multiple parameters that you may define at any time according to the vibe that you want, okay, that you have. So now let's get introduced to what? To object-oriented programming into practicals, and we see how we can relate this knowledge to what we always do every day. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create another file that I'm going to call OOP classes. OOP. Okay, in that file I'm going to do almost everything most things object-oriented programming. So I'll say number 16 and then say object-oriented programming. That's what they call OOP. And then say maybe intro and then say .dat. Okay, now we're going to make an e-commerce shop. An e-commerce system, or an e-commerce part of a piece of an e-commerce system. So we are going to deal with products. Okay, so what we're going to do right now, we are going to define different data types, and then we see how we can relate these things together. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do, we're going to create our main function, int main, open bracket, close, and then we return to the operating system is 0. Okay, now first of all, what we're going to record, we are going to record, let us first define here what we are going to handle. We are going to handle products and maybe categories, product categories. Okay, so these are the things that we're going to do what to handle. So a product, we know it is going to have multiple parameters. A product will have a name, a product will have the price, maybe the supplier or the manufacturer or something like that. Okay, let's have the product name, price, and the manufacturer. So that is what is going to make a what? A product. So to define a data type that you want to use, or to make your own data type that you want to use, you'll have to create that structure or the data structure. And defining it is what we call a class. So a class is going to be a structure that we're going to set rules for a certain data type to have. So the instance is what we call a what? Is what we call the what? The object. Okay, you might have not understood it, but I hope you're getting now the concept. Now the first structure that we're going to define, we're going to define a structure, maybe not categories, maybe you can say maybe customers. Customers. Okay, so we're going to define a structure of a product. Okay, so to define a structure of a product, it means that we're going to create its what? Its class. And that class, it is where we will set the rules that a certain what? A certain product must do what? Must have. So the first setup. So to create a structure or to set the rules of a product that must have, the first thing you create what you call a class. So how do you create a class? To create a class in that programming, you just simply write the word class as it is. Then you give this class a name because you have to reference it later, right? So we can give this class a name. So to give it a name, it is recommended to always begin with capital letters when you're creating class names. So we're going to create a class of what? Of product. So it means that this is where we're going to set the rules of what? Of all our products. And then you open curly bracket and you close it. As simple as that. That is how we create a what? A class. Let us create another class of customer. Maybe we may need to store the information of customers. Okay? So you can just simply say a class of customers. Customer. So don't use plural because it is one thing. So you may want to use it. Okay, I don't know how I can explain it, but when you're defining these structures, you don't use what? You don't use plural. Because it is one. And when you define lists, arrays, it's when you use what? It's when you use plural. So we have created a class of customer, open curly bracket, and put it there. So we now have two classes. So what is remaining? What's remaining is to set now the rules that these, or to set the properties that these structures or these data types or these classes should have. So to set a class, to set a property, we will not talk about private and public for now, but as we proceed, you'll understand what's meant by private and public, okay? And also inheritance. So now the first rule that you're going to set, you're going to set the properties of this product. So what do we need to record about a product? So you have to first somewhere, write somewhere in a paper and design your own structures, and then you define, not just to come from there and then start doing things, okay? So I will need to record maybe the ID of a product. I'll need to record its name. I'll need to record its what? Maybe its price, okay? So when I'm recording a customer, I'll need to record the customer's name, maybe, and phone number. So if I want to uniquely identify this customer, which is a very good price, very good practice, this customer must have a unique ID. So these are the properties that so far I need to do what? To record about these structures, okay? So after you have noted them down, so now you can go ahead and start putting them into these structures. These are comments, guys. Okay, comments, they don't affect the program. It's just like writing somewhere with a pencil. Now, first of all, a product we say should have an ID. So you define, how do you want to define your IDs? Let me use integer. So I'll write integer and then I say ID. So if you want to initialize this ID, you can say by default the ID will be 0. Okay? Now then, after we say, now we're going to define the what? The name. So a name, it will be what? A string. Okay? And it will be name, and then it will have nothing as default. Okay? And the next thing that we're going to define, we're going to define the price. The price can be float. Okay? Float, and going to be price, and by default it's going to be 0. Just write it like this. I don't know. Okay, let's make it integer. As simple as that. Okay, so now we have defined our properties in a what? In a class of a what? Of a product. So we can also define the properties of a customer. What shall we be recording about the customer? So this can be as big as you want. It can even be 100 parameters. Up to when you ID, you can record his address, you can record his hobbies, you can record his etc as you want, okay? But here I'm just trying to show you the concept. So the next thing is you have to define now the properties of a customer. So this customer, can say he'll have an ID which is equal to 0, and then this customer will have the string of name which is equal to nothing, and then we'll have a phone number which is going to be a string also, and say phone underscore number equals to nothing. So I organize my code, Ctrl Shift F. So I now have two classes. So these are my custom custom data type. Okay, I've gave them my own rules, which is very good. Okay, so that when I create an object of this one, it can have all the properties. So I hope we are still together. Now at this moment, this cannot do anything at this time. It's just like the way you can do what? You can make a machine. I mean, for example, you can use Luganda, I hope. Manya Katiba. Who can tell me the word Katiba in English? Sorry about that. Guys, anyone who knows Luganda here? Let me look for Muganda.
Brick making machine.
Brick making machine. I want it as a one word. Is it a machine? Akatiba, eh? Akatiba, it can even be for other things. It can be for money. It's a structure that you can use to define the shape of anything. Waliwo obutiba bwa sente, obutiba bwa kola jaga, obutiba, like, who can tell me the meaning of katiba in English? Olga?
Yes.
Do you know katiba in English?
No, I don't know it.
But did you understand what I said? A katiba?
No.
My lord.
I don't know it.
Okay, do you know this bricklaying kind of how do you call it? That car thing, that car wood, the wood that they use for laying bricks, eh?
Yeah.
How do you call it?
I don't know how they call it in English.
But did you understand it?
Yeah.
So do you know that we may have different types? They even those predefined things that they can use to make money. Do you know them? Do you know that is possible?
I didn't know.
Yeah, it is possible. There's those one for making money, for making anything that we need it to have the same shape.
Wow.
Okay? I want you to understand, just like you can use something to define so that the remaining thing that we'll use to make it 4, they take the same shape. Asimwe. Asimwe Fred. Asimwe Fred. Unmute if you're there.
Yes.
Did you understand what I'm talking about? Why I'm saying Kativa and the rest?
Yeah, that's true.
Try to explain it and in 1 minute so that these guys can understand also.
In 1 minute.
Yeah.
Okay, no, okay, that's stuff. Okay, that they use to build those bricks.
Uh-huh.
But okay, relating it to this stuff of classes, I'm not sure about it. Okay, I can just relate to this stuff of like a plan that is designed for a house. I think that's what I can relate to when it comes to classes.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it can also be a plan. So you're designing a plan, not the house itself, but a plan. Then after you have a plan of a house, you put it out there. So many people can use your plan to make even so many houses. So that's what we are trying to talk about here, guys. So here we are designing a plan, okay? But we have not made the house. So now that plan...
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, sir.
Can I share the screen with that Kativa thing?
Yeah, share with the wafi. Let me stop sharing. And then you will explain in 1 minute. I want you guys to understand it. That's why I don't rush.
Well, basically, this is it. This one here.
What is its name?
You see, this guy has it. I hear it is called a frame in English.
Yeah, it is making sense. Yeah, frame. Yeah.
Yeah, so they just use it. You just put in this mud, then you turn it over 2 times. Then after that, you get the shape of the brick. Then you lay it down, as you can see here. Even this guy, the way he's removing it like that.
Now, can you relate this Kativa and the brick to what we are studying? Try to explain.
So this Kativa thing is like the class we created down there in the code. So you can take this one to be a class called frame. It has length, it has width, it has like maybe the shape, like that. So others have the size, others can accommodate 2 bricks, others 1. So yeah, basically that's it.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. Give me the rights to share the screen. Okay, thank you so much for that very good explanation. So what we have made is a what? Is that car frame, okay? But we have not made the bricks. So that frame that you define so that your brick should have those rules, okay, is what we call a Kativa in Luganda and some other languages, okay? So, but you have not made the bricks, okay? So this is what we call a what? A class. Now the bricks that you will make from that class, now the instance of what you make from that is what we'll call what? Is what we'll call object. Okay? So now I'm going to show you how you can now make object of what? Of what you defined before. So Kanuke Kativa, this is a frame. Now we are going to use it to make bricks. Okay? Don't be confused. Now we're going to use it to make products, okay? So these are the properties of the product. Now we're going to use it to make what? A product. Now, for example, we want sugar, okay? We want to record sugar in our shop. So to record sugar, you'll have to say, to define the data type of a sugar. Just like the way we're doing. We'll first define maybe a string, then you give this data type a name, and then you do what? You define it like this. Likewise, to use a class, to use a class to define a certain object, what we do, we write the data type of what? The class of what? Of what we want to record. So I can say product, okay? So I've written product. So the next thing, I give the variable a name so that I should be able to call it. Okay. So after writing product, I can say now maybe sugar, and then equals to, and then you say new, and then you say product, like this. So that is how we initialize. That's how we create what? We create an instance of a what? Of a certain class. So it means now we have a product called sugar. Now in this sugar product, you can record now the remaining properties. Now if you want, now let us say that I want to store the name of this sugar and its price into this variable. If you want to access it, we use what we call a dot to access it. So when I click on dot, I want you to realize that I can even see the suggestions here. Can you see them? I can see ID, name, and price. So if I say dot ID equals 2, and then say 200. So, sorry, maybe 1, okay? So right now I cannot say sugar equals to 1. Why? This is invalid. This sugar has so many properties more than 1. So if we want to say no, I mean 1, the ID, I'll just simply put dot ID equals to 1. So I can go ahead and say sugar dot name equals to sugar, and then I say sugar dot price equals to maybe 1200. Okay, that's beautiful. So it means even if I want to access all the values about this particular sugar, I'll just simply call sugar dot something, and then I'll be able to do what? To use it. Okay, so maybe let's go ahead and define salt. Okay, salt. Now we can just simply say salt equals to new product. Then maybe salt, it will have an ID of 2, and the name will be salt, and the price will be maybe 1500. Let us define one more. We can define syrup. Okay, ID is 3, and then the name is soap, and then price is 800. Lastly, let us define maybe a cup, and the name is cup. The name ID is 4, name is cup, and then price maybe 2700. So there we have defined our what? Our products. Okay, so the beauty is here, if we didn't have the knowledge of classes, what does it mean? You would say yes.
In the other sol, you have not changed the name part. Sol.name is remaining sugar.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that observation. Thank you so much. Yeah. So I was going to change the same thing all the time. Thank you so much for that observation. So here the point is, I am able to access all the properties on one variable. Are you getting? I'm able to access all the properties of a product on one single variable. So I just want you to understand that is the whole beauty about it. So if imagine that I didn't have the knowledge of classes and objects, and I wanted to do what I've just simply do right now, what does it mean? I'll define price, sugar ID, sugar name, sugar, then salt ID, salt name, salt price. Then so it will be really, really tiresome, and when you want to deal with it, it will be problematic. Now let us start doing what? Let us start displaying. So to display, I'll just simply say print. Now you're going to see how things are going to be connecting now. Okay, so I want to display all my products right now. Okay, so I'll just simply say print, and then say maybe product name, and then say maybe I want to display sugar. So I can just simply say $. We began with what? With sugar. So I can just simply say sugar dot ID, maybe say ID. Okay, ID, and then say name, sugar dot name, put semicolon here. So to duplicate, we just press Ctrl D, Ctrl Shift and arrow down, and then to duplicate the line. So name and then maybe price. Okay, price. Okay, so if I run this program, I want you to see how things are going to start connecting. So if I run this program, I'll just simply say that and then put the name of the file, which is 16, press the tab key, it will execute. So you can see ID1, the name is sugar, and the price is that. Okay, so what if I want to display all the products? What if I want to display all the products? Can you see it's going to become problematic? Why? Because I'll have to repeat this line again and again and again. So that's when we had the knowledge of what? The knowledge of function. We are going to use the knowledge of function to do the what? The work of display, so that we should not repeat ourselves again and again and again and again and again. So let us go ahead and create that function here. Okay, I just want you to start now connecting the dots. This function will not return anything. It's going to return void. So it will not return anything. So you write void if you're not expecting anything from that function. So we can call it product underscore display. We will call it product display. Okay, so its task will be just to display a product. Okay, so it will expect a product. Okay, it is going to expect a product that it should what? It should display. So I'll just simply put here the class product, and then I can call it pro. Okay, and then I'll open this function and I close it. So what's going to be the use of this function? Its use is just to display. Okay, we'll be calling it, we give it a product, and then it displays. So let us go ahead and write the logic of displaying. Just simply say print, and then say maybe I can put here maybe something like that to create a new line. Okay, okay, so hope you're not lost yet. Then after doing that, I'll go ahead and now put the product name, the product ID, and then I'll just simply say $sign pro.id. Then I go ahead and do it and put the name pro.name, and then put also the what? The price dot price. Okay, so this function, its task is just to do what? To display a product, no other business. Okay, so instead of us repeating ourselves writing these things, now I'll be just calling this function, and then I give it a what? A product. That's why I want you to understand. So let us go ahead and display. So I'll just simply come here now. If I want to display sugar, I'll just simply call the function product display. I give it sugar. Okay, so it will display for me sugar. Yes, the time is up, but let me conclude. Okay, so it will display for me sugar. I call it here. I say display for me salt. Okay, so it will do for me the displaying logic. So imagine if you did not have the knowledge of functions, what would you do right now? You would go ahead and repeat yourself again and again and again. But if you have this knowledge of function, you just call the guy and you'll do the logic. So in case you want to change something, you just change in one place here, and everything will do what? Will update. So you see, I write this logic of displaying only one time, and I'm calling it to do what? And here you should know that parameter can be also anything. It can even be a class. So let's go ahead and run this, and then we see. Can you see? That's beautiful. Let me remove this guy. Clear my screen. Run. Can you see? I'm able to display things. I'm able to display sugar. I'm able to display salt. I'm able to display soap. I'm able to display. So I mean that soap, I don't do what, I don't change its ID. I'm able to display. So, and I'm doing it with simplicity by the use of classes, objects, and functions. Unless there is a question. If there is no any, we'll go for our break of 5 minutes. So 35, I mean 3:35, we come back and do the last session. 3:35, we come back and do the last session.